What's up, dudes? HW here. HW here. It's a beautiful morning up in Nashville. Pick up that 6-string coffee and chill. You just press play on that YouTube display. HW's got something to say. It writes itself. See? It writes itself. I just came up with those new lyrics. It writes itself. Been working on those because we got to turn this into like a theme song or something for these daily videos. Anyway, beautiful morning up in Nashville. All right, here we go. Slurping that coffee. It is hot. And today I want to talk about a little bit of a hot subject, you know? That kind of thing. And, this, I don't want it to be a political topic, but whenever you talk about certain things, it kind of sometimes gets political, right? And sometimes I make jokes on this channel, but I think mostly people, I have opinions about stuff, but people kind of just want to hear what I think about a neck humbucker, right? Not what I think about, the budget at the USDAIA Secret Service. You know what I'm saying? People don't care about that stuff. Or at least they don't care about it when it comes to this channel, and I respect that. You can go digging and probably find my opinions on everything. They're deep in some of these videos, but so I want to talk today. It's not meant to be political, but I got this comment, and you saw the title of the video: "Should Americans buy American-made guitars?" Because I got this comment when I was like playing some of this import stuff, Southeast Asian import kind of stuff in China, Indonesia, Korea, and some of the lower cost stuff. I got this comment like, I'd rather just pay more and buy American. And that's a sentiment that I understand. It's not one that immediately jumps out to me on the guitar. I really don't think of guitars like that. It doesn't usually hit me like, I'm going to go buy an American-made guitar. To me, the country of origin for a long time in guitar has often been, pretty closely correlated, or at least synonymous in a lot of cases, with quality. An American-made instrument has been viewed as very high quality. Now then we moved, there was a lot of production in Japan, and that was an interesting time because there was a lot of Japanese production that was higher quality than some of the American production. But that was not at the lowest end. The lowest end Japanese stuff might be good, but you can just kind of see, you look at some of these brands, Tokai, Greco, anything made in the Fujigen Gaki factory. There's a big difference between their lower end stuff and their higher end stuff. A big difference. Back in the 80s, you pick up those models and you can kind of feel the difference. Now they're all great player guitars. They can be. They were built with good bones, and they weren't poor quality, but you can see the quality changes up and down in terms of material, in terms of all sorts of stuff, pickups, all sorts of that stuff. So to me, what I usually mean when I say I'm going to buy an American guitar or something is I mean I'm going to buy an expensive guitar. And I do have a version of this buy American sentiment. And that is, for me, where I'm most sort of local with my dollars and where I see a lot of value in it, is I go to the farmer's market on Saturday near my house in Franklin, Tennessee, and I buy goat soap. I've been washing my butt with goat soap since I moved to Tennessee, and it's the same company. We haven't changed, and it's good. Skin's fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even know where else to buy soap. I guess at Target, but that's the soap we use, right? And I always buy some eggs and some beef, ground beef. A lot of times I try to get the ground beef at the regular grocery store because it's a lot cheaper there. But I try and get, maybe we get some sirloins, or we get some like beef ribs. We plan like a dinner. We go get a couple cuts of meat at the farmer's market. They got the Amish people out there, they got the crazy hippies growing cabbage. It's a cornucopia of it's great people watching too, I'll tell you. But I feel like, yeah, let me go around here, and there's a chip lady and God bless her. I feel like she kind of became a little grandmother to my kids. She makes these chips, authentic chips. She's an older Mexican lady, and I don't know how long she's been in the States, but she's been doing this chip thing a while because we've been talking, and um, she make tortillas, chips, and tamales. Sometimes she has tamales. We always buy the tamales when she has them. We get chips all the time. We always get a couple bags. They're the best chips, man. Just tortilla chips are just great. And there's another place that sometimes makes salsa. I go pick that up locally here, like all at the farmers market, and it's great. And that lovely lady, we talk to her every week, and she, we would spend 11, 12, 15, $20 on the chips. And then she always, she reaches into the tip jar and hands my kids quarters. Here you go, save your money. And so it's like, it's like our chip grandma. When we moved here away from family. So it's sweet. It gives you a sense that, like, yeah, I want to keep some money in my community. I know that I could probably get these eggs cheaper somewhere else. I know that I could get this beef cheap, but I believe the quality is good here, and I want to support the people in my area. These eggs are hatched an hour from my house. This beef is grown 45 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? It's all right here. So I get that. There's really something to be said about trying to keep money, leave money in your own community. With guitars, though, I do think the rub for me is that it's very difficult to just simply buy American or buy an import guitar and have the features and costs be relatively the same, or even go, okay, I'm going to pay a 20% premium or a 30% premium to get an American guitar. It would appear to me that when you're in this price range at the $379, and it's an American company, when it's that kind of thing, the option to buy American certainly does not exist at this price point. So to make that choice, I'm going to intentionally sort of buy an support America and buy. And this could be any country. It could be, if you're Canadian, buying Canadian, right? You could buy a Godin or a Siegel. It could be, if you're in Europe, you're going to buy maybe a Burns or a Chapman or something like that, right? One of the higher Chapmans that are made there. Or wherever you are. In Mexico, one of the things I love is all the Mexican guys I know and the Central American guys, whenever they're at NAMM, I notice, there's these couple Mexican and Central American kind of guitar, but South American too, guitar influencers. And all the Mexican dudes I meet and know at NAMM, they really cheer for them, because it's like, yeah, everybody sees the Pete Thorns and the That Pedal Show and Mateus Asado and Paul Davids and everything. But there's a few of these guys who do videos and content and they teach stuff. And all the Mexican dudes are always like, yeah, it's like they're cheering for the hometown guy. You know what I mean? They don't have the subs Paul David has, but they're big and they play on big stages and they're great musicians. And so I I get the sentiment, but it's tough because when you say you want to buy an American-made guitar, or you're talking about an American handmade guitar, and you're really not going to be able to touch one of those new for much less than $2,000, right? And so when you think about what that means, you go like, okay, what's the average salary in America right now? I think the median salary is somewhere around the $60,000 per year price point. I think it's like 58. You could double check me. I know inflation has changed a lot of things in the last few years, but I thought we're at like 58 right now. And so you think about what that works out to after taxes, take home pay, and you start to realize, man, like, wow, an American-made guitar, handmade American-made guitar for a consumer represents like, 3 weeks take-home pay from your paycheck. So we're talking that you got to work for 3 weeks, pay taxes, and then you got enough. You can't eat in those 3 weeks. You got to save up 3 weeks worth of money to be able to pay for that American-made guitar and sales tax on it. I mean, you run into that where you're like, okay, it's between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on the model I want to get, and then maybe how much I make and stuff of money to get that guitar. So they're expensive. They're pricey. I buy these American Apparel t-shirts, and The cheapest plain color t-shirt I think you could get is probably in a pack. I bet it works out to about 350. I used to be in the textiles industry. It works out to, I bet you could get a plain t-shirt, a consumer could find a pack. I bet you could find four for $12 or $15, something right in there, right? So you're right going to be at that $3 to $4 price point, 350, let's call it, right? You could buy the cheapest, probably Chinese shirt you could get. Or you can pay a lot more than that, and I pay $16 for these American Apparel t-shirts. I have a bunch of them. When one gets ruined or faded or torn or whatever, I just go on Amazon, I get another two for, $16 each. They ship free to my house, right? That's a lot more, right? It's the same. I could pay 4, I'm paying 16. I'm paying 4x. Why? I think the quality's better. I like this better. But the point really is, I'm making a choice to buy American there and pay a large premium, but it's still a relatively small amount of dollars. $16, you can't even get, that's going to be guacamole on your steak burrito for lunch at Chipotle. So it's not so cost prohibitive that I can't do it if I want to. But $2,100. I went on the Fender Mod Shop the other day and I was specking out a guitar. It was $2,200. And I thought, kind of a good deal considering I can make it however I want it, and feels custom shoppy in that way. But it's not. It's just an American-made guitar that they'll make to my spec with all the parts they got sitting around. And it's tough to make that choice, though. So when I kind of see this thing, it's like, well, I'll choose to buy American. I do think with a lot of things, that's something you can do. You can buy, the American avocados from California over Mexico if you want to do that. You can buy now if you're in Mexico, you can do the opposite, right? You can go, I'm going to buy this one instead of the American one. But sometimes, no, this is where you get a little political. It's like actually the American one is often cheaper in Mexico at maybe some of the larger chains because of like maybe subsidies in agriculture. Usually not with avocados, but with other products. You go to other countries, American produce and American grains and stuff can often be cheaper. And you go, why is that? But anyway, it's tough. This sort of like if you wanna buy American and sort of support your countrymen and your fellow laborers, which is a very like. It's funny, this idea of buying American is kind of a bipartisan thing now. The sort of support your local labor union and support working people has been traditionally a classical liberal idea of which the West prescribes. And it's been one that's on the left side of the aisle in America for a long time. And now it's very popular on the right as well. But you won't hear the left saying, don't buy American. So it is a bipartisan sort of idea of like, buy from American companies and stuff and American-made things. That sentiment is sort of universal, but I'm just trying to point out that like it's a little bit of a luxury. I won't call it a flex, but it's a luxury because where we are with manufacturing costs and wage prices in America and in Canada, in Mexico even, in a lot in not as much in Mexico, but certainly more than a lot of Central and South American countries, and in Western Europe, and just in the West, what we call the West in general. There just isn't anything that exists at price points like this. There really is nothing. If you just want to spend 1 week of the average American's pay, you really can't get an American-made guitar. If you just want to spend 2 weeks, you'd be looking to maybe get a deal on an American like an American-made guitar. Maybe if you get a really good deal on a model that people aren't really that high on anymore, or you really get into the 3 and 4 weeks of pay. And so a guitar becomes something that's actually pretty unattainable. And so the musician in me goes, well, wait a minute. No matter how much I may want to like buy American and support, workers in my country and stuff, we can't ignore the fact that that makes music and guitar unattainable for a lot of kids, for a lot of working people, for people. And by the way, that 58 number I quoted, I believe is the median average. That means half the jobs are lower. So now for a lot of those people, you might be talking about the lower 1 or 2, like 2 standard deviations below. You can't afford anything below the mean. You're not going to be able to afford anything more than, a Bullet, a Squire Bullet. and you get 3 standard deviations, you're not able, that's going to have to be given to you by somebody. But you take, those quantiles maybe, and you say in the bottom quantile, what are you able to afford? That's only going to be the bullet if you're lucky. And then in that next quantile, you're really not going to be, you're going to be the 25% from the median down to the 25% range is what I mean by that. So in that probably 58 to probably, I would guess 30 or 35, somewhere in there per year that you're living on in the US. And a lot of people are going, in my market, you can never live on that. I get it. There's cheaper and more expensive place. The US is a very large country. You run into this thing where we're no longer trading 3 weeks of labor for that American made guitar. You might be trading 6, 7, 8 weeks of labor. And that's that. And as you go further down on the scale, of how much you make, your ability to even save that money and not spend it on essentials goes way down, right? Because the person who makes a Fender guitar in a day, right? A brand new $2,000, the person who makes that in a day on their labor or their investments or whatever, they're going to own many, many, many because they're already covering all their essentials and bills. They're covering their eggs, beef, groceries, transportation, blah, blah, blah. They're covering the essentials in just one day. So the rest of it becomes disposable income, we call it. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to me as a fan of economics, this sort of buy American sentiment, how it relates to guitars. Because it's like, I get it. It's a good thing. But certainly putting guitars and music in the hands of people is also a good thing. We want music and guitar to be accessible. And that's where these things shine. There's no reason you can't buy one of these right off the shelf or a Fesley or whatever and go make a hit record. You really can. You can become the best guitarist in the world on a Squier Paranormal or a Squier Classic vibe. No doubt in my mind. You might, along the way, need to buy a wrench or two and a file or two and some extra strings. You might need to gain a little bit of knowledge on how to set your guitar up, and maybe even eventually you upgrade some pickups or something. That's going to be on the journey, but there's no reason you can't learn and become a virtuoso on an instrument like this. You absolutely can. But if you want to buy American, I get it.